Hey everybody, how is it going? It is your pal, Sal here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my review of the brand new play that is currently premiering at the Goodman Theatre in Chicago, Goodnight Oscar, starring Sean Hayes. Oh my gosh, where do I begin? I should state that I did see the show on March 12th of 2022. Wow. I can't believe it's 2022 sometimes. But that coincidentally was the very first preview of this show. I'm not exactly sure when it's having its official opening night. Obviously, somewhere between when it had its first preview and between April 17th. But regardless, I saw the first preview, so everything I'm going to say in here maybe take with a little grain of salt because it hasn't officially opened yet, but you get the drift there. I kind of saw the show a little bit last minute. I decided the morning of to go. The Goodman Theatre offers this wonderful code that you can use on the day of the show to get $10 tickets to either the last back rows of the balcony or any of the box seats that are still open. And me loving to look rich and loving a box seat, especially at the Goodman Theatre. The Goodman Theatre has some of the best box seats I've ever sat in. I, of course, snagged my own little box to sit at it's the third highest box on the left side of the theater. It is just an absolute gem to sit in, and I can say before going in, if you're planning on seeing the show and you want to get a box seat, you can't go wrong. The way the set is designed, you're going to be perfectly fine. There's nothing you're going to miss. My seat was fantastic. I just want to get that out of the way, and I'm just, oh God, when I think about the scene, it was just so nice. So in regards to this show, Goodnight Oscar starring Sean Hayes, what is it about? Well, the good thing to get into that, so the story is about Oscar Levant, who, if you're much like me, had no clue who that was. Basically, Oscar Levant was very famous back in the day for his known wit. He originally started writing music around the time with George Gershwin, and then when George Gershwin passed away, he wrote a lot of his own material, and then, basically he was famous for the music he wrote, his ability to play the piano, which we'll talk about in a second here, and his wit, his dry humor, that is just wow. When you watch it on the show, and even when I looked back at some videos that were of him live on TV, wow, this man, the driest wit I've ever seen, but so funny. In a way, I don't know if I would describe him, but basically people loved him because he was like a loose cannon. You never knew what he was going to say, and so it kind of reminded me of like a olden day, not that that's that old, well, it's in the past, but like a Kathy Griffin or a Joan Rivers. For me being gay, that's kind of what it drew me to, and I was like, okay, I get what's going on here, and I love it. So the basic plot of the show is that Oscar Levant did have a lot of mental problems, a lot of addiction problems, and the story basically is Jack Paar, who was the host of The Tonight Show at the time, has booked Oscar to be a guest because I guess The Tonight Show, this is when the show moved to LA. I'm guessing, I don't really watch the late night TV circuit, so that's that there. But the show moved to LA. It needs a big opening, and he gets Oscar Levant to join the show. The only trouble is that I guess he never officially talked to Oscar. He talked to his wife, who guaranteed he could get Oscar to do the show. Unfortunately, Oscar is in the insane asylum, dealing with both his addiction and his growing mental health problems. And she's like, I'm gonna get him, don't you worry, Jack. And basically, she gets Jack out of the insane asylum, or I should say the mental hospital. I think that's the better term. Basically, Oscar is not in the greatest shape. He's able to do the show, but the basic plot of the show is that she gets him out, and it takes mostly behind the scenes, backstage, and it's Oscar getting ready for the show, dealing with the problems with his wife, with the network. He meets this lovely, not lovely, but this intern that he grows fond of, and they form like a little friend. It's not really a friendship, but a kinship to each other. And it deals with all that. It's kind of hard to go into. And then it also deals with his struggles of feeling second best to George Gershwin, and you see George Gershwin in like these, I don't even know how to describe it, like hallucinations he has with George Gershwin, and it all leads up to him getting onto the Tonight Show, saying some things that were not PC enough for the network, him almost getting kicked off, but then they're like, no, he has to play the piano, and then we watch Sean Hayes play the piano just effortlessly. It was very bizarre seeing that, and I guess it's hard to describe. There's a lot that happens in here. It takes place over one night. It's a one-act show. The playbill will, or at least online, it'll show you that the show runs an hour and 40 minutes. The ushers at the theater were saying it was an hour and 30 minutes. In all honesty, the show came out closer to an hour and 50 minutes, which is a long time to go without a pee break. I'm just saying. But we did it. We all did it in the audience together. And again, it was the first preview, so I imagine it was probably running a little longer than maybe they intended it to. A little 10 minutes over is not too bad. So we'll see where that, leads to in the future. So again, I kind of described that plot very haphazardly. It's very, there's just a lot that goes on. There's a lot of different characters that intertwine, and it's a lot of fun. I want to get into the cast right now. So I think we should start obviously with the one and only Sean Hayes. So as we all know, Sean Hayes is a comedy icon, and I'm very familiar with Sean Hayes, but not in the way that most people are. I've not really grown up on Will and Grace. I've seen a few episodes here and there. I assume one day I will watch the full thing and I'll love it, but it's not one that I've really, it's not a show I've sought out. But I'm familiar with Sean Hayes in two different ways. I grew up on the new Broadway cast recording of Promises, Promises, which he is iconic in, and also coincidentally, he produced one of my favorite shows of all time, Hot in Cleveland. So I love me some Sean Hayes. He's an icon with his hand episode he has with this series. I mean, come on, it's iconic. So I think we all know what Sean Hayes brings to the table. But what was really interesting with this show, and I imagine it was, really with him and the director whose name is Lisa Peterson, I feel like they really both talked to each other and said, Sean, you have this really cool wit about you, but we're going to take that wit and transform it into something completely different that we know that he knew he could do and she knew he could do, because Sean Hayes is almost unrecognizable on this stage watching this show. The way he transforms into Oscar, now granted, you're not as familiar with Oscar Levant as I think. I'm not the source for that, but going back and watching some, a couple of videos on YouTube of him, which there aren't sadly many, wow, whoa, does Sean Hayes transform into Oscar Levant. The mannerisms he has, you can tell that this is a man who is not mentally well. You can see him one minute, he's completely lucid, he's there, and you can understand he's picking up what he's saying to you, but then in other moments, you're just like, whoa, dude, you got to go back to the hospital. You're not safe here, and this is not a good idea. And especially with the show, when I forgot the exact date that it gave for Oscar Levant, a timeline. Oh, I didn't even see this before I saw the show. I think it's obviously, when is this taking place? Does it have a date in the playbill? I want to see. Oscar Levant cast. No, there's no date for air, and I'm sure you can look it up when the date was. Obviously, I'm assuming sometime in the 50s or the 60s. That's probably, how dare I, not know the exact timeline, but you get the drift there. So that's when it takes place. So, it's not a good time. They don't really have the best way to, describe mental health, to deal with mental health, and it shows in this show, and you're just sitting there the whole time in the audience, and you're like, someone help this man. Someone please help this man. So, I mean, without really going into it, Sean Hayes is just, he transforms in this role. He is fantastic in this role. And I'm still wondering, this is labeled as a world premiere engagement at the Goodman Theatre, and I'm wondering if they're eyeing a possible Broadway transfer, because with Sean Hayes attached, I think if this goes to Broadway for, Best Actor in a Play, he could easily win, because he has transformed himself in this show, and I think that it's a great Tony vehicle. So I'm hoping I see that. And especially the Goodman doesn't have, track record isn't the right word, but one of their shows, the last show I think of theirs that went to Broadway was War Paint, which starred Patti LuPone and Christine Ebersole. So I'm hoping, I would love it. I think it's a good choice. It's got a great set. I don't know if it would win for best set, but I really did enjoy the set actually. So there's that. So Sean Hayes, fantastic. I wish I could say more, but it's just the way he transforms. I don't want to spoil too many things, from it, but he's fantastic in it. And I also want to say the lady who played his wife, Emily Bergl, who plays June Levant. I love that name. Loved her as well too. I thought she was fantastic. I loved her costumes. Her costumes were gorgeous, beautiful. And Ben Rappaport as Jack Paar, I really enjoyed too. What I liked about the way he played Jack, now granted again, not really that familiar with Jack, what I loved is that when Oscar is just saying all these things on air that he knows that he should not be saying, Jack is eating it up. He's he knows that this is ratings gold. He knows that this is it. And I loved that. I love the fact that they acknowledge that. So also, this is the part I'm honestly most excited to talk about. So I didn't really look up the cast before I saw the show or what the show was going to be about. I just was like, okay, it's Oscar Levant. I looked up what he did, and okay, cool. I get the drift there. Imagine my surprise when, as an avid fan of the SpongeBob musical, I open the playbill, and who do I see in this show but none other than SpongeBob himself, Ethan Slater. As someone who absolutely adored, loved, wished the world for the SpongeBob musical, I saw it in the pre-Broadway tryout, which it had at the Oriental Theater, which was exactly right across the street from the Goodman Theatre. It was an honor to see Ethan Slater again after he was robbed for his Tony Award for the SpongeBob musical. It was... I was so excited to see him because I love him. I think he's great. I think he's such a good actor. And the role he played, which was of oh my God, how do you say that last name? Max Weinbaum, who is the son of the guy who runs the network, I think that's how it is. Basically, he loves the movies, and like this is like his like way to get into the system. He's working as like a little assistant, getting in people's coffee and drinks, and he has this lovely conversation with Oscar throughout the show about what he's done, how he sees the movies, things like that. He's like, I loved you in American in Paris. He's basically playing a little fanboy, which I loved. I thought he did fantastic in the role. Again, I'm a little biased because I just loved him so much in the SpongeBob musical, and again, I robbed for the Tony Award he was. So I enjoyed seeing him, and in fact, I would like to go see the show again. I really would, and knowing that he's in it makes me want to see it again even more. I know apparently because Sean Hayes is in it, but Ethan Slater, man, again, robbed for the Tony. Robbed. So I loved him in that. Some of the other cast members, Peter Grosz, who was the network, I want to say censor, but that's not really what it was. He was like the head of the network or whatever. Did really good. Also, Tramell, Tillman, who played the doctor that accompanies Jack when he goes, or no, not Jack. That's the Sean Hayes character from Will and Grace. The Oscar's character. I thought he was really fun too. He had some really fun lines, and you could tell that he has got to be on his A game to keep Oscar from getting the pills that he wants, which at one point he's not on his A game there, but there's that. This show, I have to say also, for it being a first preview, was extremely tight. I did not notice any issues that they were having with the script or anything like that. The only thing that I noticed that I was like, okay, maybe that could use a little bit of tweaking, is that there were 3 moments where the conversation goes from very light and all of a sudden it's very shouty and like everybody's having like their big acting moment, and 2 of these came from the wife, and I think it was just more the script. I don't think it gave any of the 3 times, because 2 of them were for the wife and 1 of them was for Oscar. I don't think it gave them enough time to really breathe in that scene. It felt like 1 second we were here normal and the next second loud, shouting, upset, all that, which is reflective of life. But I don't know if that was the one thing I'd tweak, I'd be like, can we see if we can maybe stretch that out just a little longer to see if it pays off more? Because the one that stuck out with me is I was like, oh, if this was maybe paced out a little better, I think I would love it even more, is when Oscar's like, hey, June, I want to come home. I want to be there for the kids. I want to do all that. And she's like, no, that really can't happen. He's like, but I really want to go. And she's like, no, it's not going to happen. I'm not going through it again. And I'm like, maybe I don't know, because it's definitely not the actress's fault, because I just think it's the script. It didn't give her room to really, go and build up to that. And there was one point with I keep wanting to say Jack, which is weird because I know his character name, but Oscar. So, I think that's the one thing that I could see maybe being tweaked a little, but other than that, I really had no issues with it. One of the big, moments that the show comes to is when we have to watch Oscar Levant play, and whoa. Whoa. Again, watching Sean Hayes play the piano, I watched a video too that the Goodman was using to promote the show. Sean does have a background in playing piano, but he claims that he's not as good as he once was, which if anybody, I don't know what the piece he was playing was, but whoa. Oh my God, was it ever... that was a piece. That was art, what I saw on that stage that night. I'm amazed he honestly didn't get a standing ovation because the audience was clapping for a long time. It was fantastic watching it. Wow. That was, oh my God, I'm reliving it right now. I love it. So all in all, and I have to say, the guy who played, I want to make sure I get his name right too. John, oh my God. Every time I look at a last name, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that last name. John. That's his name. He has one name, like Cher. He was fantastic too as George Gershwin. You really get, now granted, we're seeing George Gershwin through the eyes of Oscar as like this kind of antagonistic man who doesn't view Oscar and the way he views himself, but then we learned that maybe he did. It's hard to say. Who knows? He's dead. We'll never know, truly. I thought he did fantastic too. And again, he had great costumes too. He just really had a robe, but that robe looked so expensive and I loved it. I wanted it, quite frankly. So all in all, I have to say Goodnight Oscar was a fantastic, and this is coming from someone who does not really enjoy plays. Going to school for musical theater, I will say, I discovered plays. Not my thing. I love a good song and dance. That's really what I truly love. So I'm very selective of the plays I like, but I really went into this and I had a fantastic time. The story is really interesting because it borders on the line. Like if I would describe elements that are in there, we see like the addiction level of like A Star Is Born. You get the weight of someone in the sense of like Joan Rivers or Kathy Griffin. And there's also like this play in there. There's this part in there that kind of reminds me of the movie Amadeus with the Mozart and Salieri vibe. So there's a lot of cool elements in it where I was like, hey, I like that, I like that, I like that, and it all comes together really nice. So all in all, I would really, really recommend seeing Goodnight Oscar. I hope it does eventually announce a Broadway transfer because again, with Sean Hayes attached, I see it. I really can truly believe that. So that's my hope there. The show is running from March 12th until April 17th, so you do have plenty of time to go see it if you are in the Chicago area. I loved it. I actually really, truly want to go again. I'm going to try, because I like to do the last minute ticket thing, because I mean, $15 for a seat is just a steal. You can't beat it, because I'm not that rich. So, so we'll see from there. But if you've seen it, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you haven't, I highly recommend going to see Goodnight Oscar, because it's wonderful. So again, what did you think if you saw it? Let me know in the comments below. As always, do not forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at Salvador J. Rocha, Twitter at Sal Says Stuff, and TikTok at SalRoach1. And I will see you ever so soon. Have a great day. Bye.